Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely morning. So this is more of a rant than a really well thought through video, so take it for what it is. This is an article that says business owners waited years for COVID loans and now it's too late. And they're talking about several individuals that were either declined loans 2 years after they applied for it or people that are still waiting, which is kind of sad because, one of the things that bothers me about this is you have this combination with several of these programs, whether it was the EIDL program, which worked as a loan, which could be a grant for the first 10,000, or the PPP program, where you have a combination of individuals that 2 years later were still not able to get any assistance, who wound up closing their business, firing people, losing their apartments, losing their stores, or other people on the other end of the spectrum that were, like buying sports cars and Lamborghinis using their PPP loans. Or one of my personal favorites are people that were registering farms to, Brooklyn apartments and then collecting hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that they used on other stuff. So it's really this really interesting way that this worked out, where with the CARES Act and everything that happened in early 2020, where you have you put trillions of dollars into the economy while people were not allowed to work and produce things, which would have inflationary pressures later. Check. You have a bunch of people that were not able to get access to these funds before their businesses were closed. Check. You have a bunch of people that were able to get access to these funds and buy Lamborghinis with them. Check. It's literally like the worst of all worlds. And, one of the people here is saying that they applied. Here we go. This person, she applied for an EID loan late that year, but didn't get a decision until March 2022. The pandemic lockdowns happened in March, April, and May of 2020. They didn't get a decision on their loan until 2022. And there was a rejection due to a credit score. This is just so sad. I don't think most people understand the frustration or the aggravation here of, like, there is a lockdown that says you're not allowed to be in business that starts on March 20th, and you're just waiting for Congress to argue and figure out if you're not going to be screwed in April. Like, during that period, the amount of cortisol that was probably dripping through the brains of most small business owners in the United States, that probably aged them 10 to 20 years, even if they did actually wind up actually getting the money. And the amount of people that got money that shouldn't have versus the people that should have. It's one of these things, I forget the name of this book. There was this one book that I was reading a long time ago, and it was essentially going over how a fully anarcho-capitalist libertarian society would function. And, I had a lot of doubts about this. I'm kind of like conservative leaning, libertarian curious, but not like a full-on. And, I'll read this and I'll just go, okay, some of this makes sense. A lot of this doesn't. I don't see how any of this shit would work. This sounds a little utopian. But the thing that always got me curious about it is essentially almost every time that I've dealt with the government as a business owner or just as an individual, I feel completely and utterly let down by how incompetent every single part of the structure is. And it's like, I get it. In theory, these are all the things that make sense. This all, not having a government does not make sense. But it's like, fuck, you guys got to do better than this. Like, come on. You seriously got to do better than this. Reading this article just is incredibly infuriating. And just honestly, reading through all of these cases is incredibly infuriating. Man purchased Lamborghini after receiving $3.9 million in PPP loans. Hundreds of PPP loans went to fake farms in absurd places. And honestly, the part that drives me nuts about this more than anything is that there have been times where I've actually heard people bragging about what they were able to get. Just one of those things where, I'm walking down the street in my neighborhood and I'm just hearing people talk on the stoop, and I'll hear somebody talk about like what they were able to spend it on. And it's like, there are people that actually brag about this, knowing that other people lost their businesses, lost their livelihood. Some people may have jumped off a bridge as a result of it. I'm confident that if somebody had a business for 10 or 30 years that they put their heart and their livelihood into and it got destroyed by the government, it's just sad. It pisses me off. I'll link to this article down below, but it's really sad to see that the lifeline for so many people, when it was the government that was shutting down their business, is seemingly run in a very similar manner to the people who run the DMV or the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs.